Oh my God.
That's not a coyote. "30 years. I've seen what hunger does. What hunters do. The cry. It's not an animal, Sarah. They're coming for us. They left me. Oh God, they just left me. But this was different. This was hidden.
Sarah heard the sound at 4:15 in the morning. It was not a normal sound. It was not a sound that should exist in the Colorado mountains at this time of the day. She was inside her small ranger station, drinking coffee that was still hot, when the cry came through the window sharp. "Disparate!" A young voice screaming for help. She stopped moving. She stopped breathing for a moment. The coffee cup stayed in her hand, but her mind was already gone. That sound was a foal. A baby horse, and that baby horse was in trouble. Sarah put the coffee down on the wooden table. It made a small sound when she did. She walked to the window and looked out into the darkness. The mountains were black. The sky was dark blue, the color that comes right before the sun rises. There was fog everywhere, thick fog that made it hard to see anything more than 20 feet away. The fog looked like white smoke, moving slowly between the trees. The cry came again, this time louder. Sarah's face changed. Her jaw became tight. Her eyes narrowed. In 31 years of being a ranger in these mountains, she had heard many sounds. She had heard wolves. She had heard scared animals. She had heard the sounds of death in the wilderness. But this sound was different. This sound was wrong. This sound had fear in it that was too much. This sound had desperation that meant time was running out. She moved fast. She grabbed her brown jacket from the hook on the wall. She pulled it on. The jacket was old. It had holes in it from barbed wire and thorns. She did not care. She grabbed her emergency bag, the bag she kept packed at all times. It had water. It had medicine. It had rope. It had everything a ranger needed to save an animal. She grabbed her flashlight. She grabbed her radio. She grabbed her phone to take pictures if she needed to. The truck was already running outside. Sarah always kept her truck running in the morning. It was an old truck. It was blue and dirty, and it did not look like much. But it was fast, and it was strong, and it knew these mountains as well as Sarah did. Sahumpet and she could hear the cry again as she drove. The sound was coming from above. From the high ridge, from the direction of Devil's Drop, the place where the mountain just ended. The place where the ground fell away into nothing. The road was not really a road. It was a path that cars could drive on if the cars were strong enough. Sarah's truck was strong enough. It went up and up and up. The fog got thicker as she drove higher. Soon she could not see the road in front of her. She could only see what the headlights showed her. The headlights were yellow in the fog. They looked like two eyes looking for something lost. The crying got louder. It was very loud now, not far away. Maybe 100 meters away. Maybe less. Sarah parked the truck. She got out. The cold air hit her face. It was the kind of cold that came from high places where the sun had not reached yet. The fog was so thick that she could almost touch it. She could only see the ground right under her feet. Everything else was white and gray and empty. She started walking. Her boots made sounds on the rocks. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The sound of her own feet was loud in the quiet mountains. The foal's cry was louder. Now, it sounded panicked. Now it sounded like the foal knew something bad was about to happen. The path got narrower. Sarah knew this path. She had walked it maybe 5 times in her life. It was a dangerous path. The mountain went up on one side and down on the other side. Down was very far down. Down was a cliff. Down was a ravine that was maybe 200 feet deep. Down was death if you fell. The cry came from ahead. Very close now. Sarah's light caught something. A shape. A small shape. A shape that should not be there. She moved closer. Her heart was beating fast. Very fast. The way it beats when you know something is very wrong, and you have to do something about it right now. She came around a rock, and she saw it. The foal was standing on a narrow part of the path. The narrow part was like a shelf made of rock. On one side of the shelf was the mountain going up. On the other side was empty air. And then below that empty air was the drop to the rocks below. The foal was maybe 3 days old. Sarah could tell by looking at it, it was a baby. Its coat was dark brown, the color of chocolate. It was wet-looking in some places. Its legs were very thin. Sarah could see each bone in its legs. She could see the foal's ribs. The foal was hungry. Very hungry. The foal was scared. Very scared. Its eyes were wide and white, and it was moving back and forth on the narrow shelf like it did not know what to do. "Okay," Sarah said out loud. She made her voice soft. She made her voice calm. "Okay, baby. I am here. I am here." The foal heard her voice and cried again. It moved. One of its back feet went over the edge. Rocks fell down. They made no sound for a long time, and then Sarah heard them hit the bottom. Far, far down. So far down that the sound took 3 seconds to come back. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The foal did not fall, but it could fall. It was so close to falling. It was maybe one wrong step from falling forever. H walked very slowly. She did not run. Running would scare the foal more. She just walked. 1 step. Stop. Another step. Stop. She kept talking. She kept her voice soft and calm and safe-sounding, even though her heart was hitting her ribs like it wanted to break out. "It is okay, baby," she said. "I am coming. I am here. You are safe. You are going to be safe." The foal was shaking. Every part of the foal was shaking. Its legs looked like they might not hold it up much longer. Sarah could see that the foal had not eaten in a very long time. She could see that the foal had been left here. Nobody leaves a baby horse on a narrow shelf above a cliff by accident. Nobody does that by mistake. Sarah was 10 feet away when she noticed something else. Around the foal's neck was a mark. A burn mark, like something hot had been pressed into the skin, like somebody had done it on purpose. Sarah's eyes went hard. Her face became something different, something angrier. Somebody had put this baby here. Somebody had branded this baby. Somebody had left this baby to die, and Sarah was going to find out who. This was not just a rescue now. This was something else. This was proof of something. This was evidence of something bad, and as Sarah took another step forward, as she reached out her hand to the shaking, terrified foal, she did not know that this moment, right here on this narrow shelf above this cliff, was going to change her life. It was going to change everything. She just knew that she had to save this baby, and after she saved it, she had to find out why someone wanted it dead.
Was the hardest thing Sarah had done in a long time. The baby horse was not strong. The baby horse was not thinking clearly. The baby horse was only thinking about fear. When Sarah moved closer, the foal moved backward. When Sarah reached out her hand, the foal stepped toward the edge. One small step backward, and the foal would fall into the empty air. One small step, it would all be over. Sarah stopped moving. She sat down on the cold rocks. She made herself smaller. She made herself less scary. "I'm just going to sit here," she said out loud. Her voice was soft. "You can stay over there. I'm just going to sit here. Nobody is in a hurry." The foal was shaking. Its whole body was shaking like it was freezing cold. But it was not cold. It was fear. Pure fear. Sarah had seen fear like this before in animals. She had seen it in wild horses that had been chased by hunters. She had seen it in cattle that had been handled roughly. But this was different. This fear had a kind of message in it. This fear was saying, "Humans are danger. Humans did this to me. Humans are the reason I am here." Sarah waited. She had learned long ago that patience was sometimes the only tool that worked. 30 minutes went by. 40 minutes. The sun was starting to come up now. The fog was getting lighter. The dark blue sky was becoming purple, then pink, then orange. The world was becoming visible again. The foal stopped shaking so much. The foal was tired. The foal was hungry. The foal was so thirsty that its mouth was dry. Sarah could see the tongue looking dry and thick. She could see that the foal had not drunk water in many hours, maybe many days. Slowly, Sarah reached in her bag. She pulled out a plastic bottle of water. She did not drink from it. She poured the water into a small cup that she kept in her bag. She held the cup out. She did not move. She did not push. She just held it. The foal watched. The foal's ears pointed toward the cup. The foal's nose sniffed the air. Water. The foal smelled water. One small step forward. The foal took one step. Then another. Then another. The foal was moving away from the cliff edge. The foal was moving toward Sarah and the water. When the foal got close enough, it put its mouth in the cup. It drank the water so fast that Sarah had to get more. Then more. The foal was drinking like it had never tasted water before. Like water was the most important thing in the world. And for this foal, it probably was. As the foal drank, Sarah could see more clearly now. She could see the wound on the foal's back leg. It was a big wound. It was infected. The skin around it was swollen and red. The wound was old, maybe 2 days old. Sarah could see that nobody had cleaned it. Nobody had treated it. Somebody had just left it to get worse and worse. She could see more now. The foal's ribs were showing very clearly. She could count each one. The foal had not eaten real food in days. The foal had been starving. The foal had been left here to die from hunger and fear and loneliness. And the brand. The brand was still there on the foal's neck. It was a small mark. It looked like 2 letters burned into the skin. It looked like initials. Someone's initials. Someone had marked this baby. Someone had claimed ownership of this baby. Someone had said, "This one is mine. This one belongs to me." Sarah's hands became tight fists. She took out her phone. She took pictures of everything. The brand. The wound. The foal's ribs. The cliff. The rocks. The place where drag marks went across the ground. Drag marks that looked like something had been pulled. Something had been pulled up onto this cliff. Something that did not want to come. The foal finished drinking the water. It was standing closer to Sarah now. It was still scared, but it was not running away anymore. It was staying close because staying close meant water. Staying close meant maybe not being alone anymore. "Okay, baby," Sarah said. "We're going to go down. We're going to go back. I'm going to help you." She made a soft rope and put it around the foal's neck. Not tight, just loose, just gentle. She walked slowly. The foal followed. They moved together away from the cliff edge, back toward the wider path, back toward safety. It took an hour of slow walking, an hour of Sarah talking softly, an hour of the foal learning that maybe humans could be safe. Finally, they reached the truck. Sarah put the foal in the back. The foal was so tired that it lay down on the truck bed and closed its eyes. Sarah sat in the front. She looked at the pictures on her phone. She looked at the brand. She thought about what the brand meant. Who puts a brand on a baby horse? Who deliberately brands a 3-day-old foal? Nobody does that unless the foal is part of something organized, part of something wrong. Sarah drove down the mountain fast. She knew where to go. She knew a veterinarian, Dr. Martinez. He had helped her many times before. He knew horses. More important, he knew secrets. He knew things about the animals that came through his clinic. He knew things about where they came from and where they had been and what had happened to them. The vet clinic was in the town. It was a small building with a red barn next to it. Sarah pulled into the parking lot and did not even turn off the engine before she was out of the truck. She opened the back. The foal was still sleeping. It looked so small, so broken, so hurt. Dr. Martinez came out when he heard the truck. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and hands that were used to working. He looked at the foal. His face changed. His expression became serious. "Where did you find it?" he asked. "Devil's Drop. On a cliff." "Someone put it there," Sarah said. Dr. Martinez looked at the foal for a long time without speaking. Then he looked at Sarah. His eyes were different now. His eyes were afraid. "Bring it inside," he said quietly. "Bring it inside, and do not tell anyone you found it. Do you understand me? Do not tell anyone." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "I mean," Dr. Martinez said, looking at the foal again, at the brand, at the empty eyes, "that you may have found something that people in this area want to keep hidden very much. And people who want to keep things hidden sometimes do very bad things to people who find out about them." Sarah felt something cold move down her spine. The morning was warm now. The sun was up and bright. But she felt cold, because she understood that Dr. Martinez was not just worried about the foal anymore. He was worried about her. He was worried about what she had found. And he was very worried about what the brand meant. "Tell me," Sarah said. "Tell me what the brand means. Tell me what I found." Dr. Martinez looked at the foal one more time. Then he looked at Sarah. And in his eyes, Sarah saw something she did not want to see. She saw proof that she had discovered something dangerous. She saw proof that this was bigger than one foal. She saw proof that this was something that reached into places and touched people that had power in this town. And she understood that her life had just changed. Everything was different now. Dr. Martinez did not answer Sarah's question right away. He worked on the foal first. He cleaned the infected wound. He gave the foal medicine through a needle in its leg. He checked the foal's heart and lungs and mouth. He looked at every part of the small body. The whole time, he did not speak. The whole time, he looked like he was thinking about something very difficult. Finally, he was done. The foal was sleeping now. A good, deep sleep. The kind of sleep that comes when medicine makes the pain go away. Dr. Martinez walked into his office. He sat down in a chair. He looked tired. He looked older than he had looked 5 minutes ago. Sarah sat down across from him. She waited. "The brand," he said finally. His voice was quiet, very quiet, like he was afraid someone might hear him. "That brand means rejected. It means failure. It means the foal did not meet someone's standards." "Standards for what?" Sarah asked. "For breeding," Dr. Martinez said. "For a breeding operation. A place where horses are bred for specific things. For specific sizes. For specific colors. For specific body shapes. And when a foal is born and it is not what they wanted, they mark it. They mark it with that brand. And then they get rid of it." Sarah felt something cold in her stomach. "Get rid of it? You mean kill it?" "I mean," Dr. Martinez said, "that they leave it somewhere it will die. They leave it where no one will find it. They leave it on a cliff where it will fall. They leave it in a place where it will starve. They leave it where it will disappear and no one will ever know it existed." Sarah was very quiet. She was thinking about the foal. She was thinking about what the foal had been through. She was thinking about a system so cruel that it would throw away a baby just because the baby was not perfect enough. "How do you know this?" she asked. Dr. Martinez stood up. He walked to a file cabinet. He opened a drawer. He pulled out a folder. The folder was thick. It had many papers in it. He opened it and showed Sarah pictures. Pictures of horses. Horses with bones showing. Horses with wounds. Horses with strange body shapes. Horses with the same brand. The same 2-letter brand on their necks. 2 years ago, Dr. Martinez said, a woman came in with a mare. She said she had bought it from private sellers. She said she was told the horse was healthy. But I could see the brand. I could see the injuries. I could see the signs of forced breeding. I asked her where she got the horse. She became angry. She said it was not my business. She said she had paid good money for it, and I should not ask questions. He showed Sarah more pictures. Mares with injuries inside their bodies. Mares that had been hurt during breeding. Mares that looked broken. I reported it. Dr. Martinez continued. I reported what I saw to the county. I said there was an illegal breeding operation somewhere in the mountains. I said that horses were being bred in cruel ways. I said that animals were being marked and rejected and disappeared. And do you know what happened? What? Sarah asked. Nothing, Dr. Martinez said. His voice became hard. Nothing happened. Nobody investigated. Nobody cared. The people who run that operation, they have money. They have power. They know people in the county government. They know people in law enforcement. So when I reported them, my report went nowhere. Sarah looked at the pictures. She thought about what Dr. Martinez was saying. She thought about the foal on the cliff. She thought about all the other foals that might have been put on other cliffs. All the other foals that did not make it down alive. "Do you know where the operation is?" she asked. "I have an idea," Dr. Martinez said. "I think it is on the old Blackwood Ranch. The ranch that was abandoned 15 years ago. The one north of here, up in the high mountains. I think someone bought it. I think someone is using it for this breeding operation. But I do not know for sure, and I am afraid to find out." "Why are you afraid?" Sarah asked. Dr. Martinez looked at her for a long time. His eyes were very serious. "Because I reported them once, and my life changed after that. I started getting phone calls. Nobody would say anything. They would just call and hang up. My tires got slashed. Someone broke a window in my house. Nothing happened that I could report to the police, but everything happened in a way that meant, keep quiet. Do not ask questions. Do not talk about what you know." He walked close to Sarah. He put his hand on her shoulder. "And now you have found a foal with their brand. Now you know they exist. Now you know what they do. And if they find out that you found this foal, you will have problems too. Worse problems maybe. Because you're a ranger. Because you have the power to investigate. Because you can make reports that mean something." Sarah felt fear for the first time. Real fear. Not just worry, but real, deep fear. "What do I do?" she asked. "You do nothing," Dr. Martinez said. "You give the foal to me. You go home. You forget what you found. You do not ask questions. You do not report anything. You let the foal disappear like all the others disappear. You stay safe." But Sarah was shaking her head before he even finished speaking. She stood up. She looked at the pictures on his desk. She looked at the wounded horses. She looked at the brand marks. She thought about the foal sleeping in the next room. She thought about how it had been left to die because it was not perfect enough. "I'm going to report this," she said. Her voice was steady now, stronger. "I'm going to file an official report. I'm going to document everything. I'm going to tell the state government. I'm going to tell the federal government. I'm going to make so much noise that they cannot ignore it." "Sarah," Dr. Martinez started to say. "No," she said. "No. I have been a ranger for 31 years. I have watched bad things happen in these mountains. I have watched people with money and power do whatever they want. I have watched crimes go unpunished. I have watched systems fail animals who cannot protect themselves. And I have always told myself that my job was to protect this land and everything in it. But I have not really done that. I have done the easy things. I have not done the hard things." She looked at Dr. Martinez directly in his eyes. "This foal is a hard thing," she said. "This foal is proof. This foal survived. And because it survived, I can prove that this breeding operation exists. I can prove that they are breaking laws. I can prove that they are hurting animals. I can make reports that cannot be ignored." "You do not understand," Dr. Martinez said. His voice was afraid now, very afraid. "These people are dangerous. These people have already shown that they will hurt people who interfere. They will come after you. They will threaten you. They might do worse." "Maybe," Sarah said, "but I cannot stay quiet. I cannot just accept this. I cannot let that foal die on a cliff and then pretend I never saw it. I cannot do that anymore." She walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Dr. Martinez asked. "To my office," Sarah said. "I'm going to make copies of every picture I took. I'm going to write a report. I'm going to file it officially. I'm going to document everything. And then I'm going to wait and see what happens." Dr. Martinez stood in the doorway of his clinic. He looked like he wanted to stop her, but he did not, because he knew that some people cannot be stopped once they decide to do the right thing. Some people are willing to face danger because staying silent is worse than any danger they might face. Sarah drove back to her office, and inside her head, she was not thinking about fear anymore. She was thinking about the foal. She was thinking about all the other foals. She was thinking about the breeding operation hidden in the mountains, and she was thinking, somebody has to stop this. And if nobody else will, then it has to be me. Sarah spent the whole day writing. She wrote in her office at the ranger station. She wrote down everything that happened. She wrote about finding the foal. She wrote about the cliff. She wrote about the brand. She wrote about what Dr. Martinez told her. She wrote about the wounded horses. She wrote about the breeding operation on Blackwood Ranch. She made the report official. She wrote it in the way that government reports are written. She took pictures from her phone and attached them. She made copies. 3 copies. She kept one in her office. She gave one to her supervisor at the county office. She mailed one to the state wildlife agency with a letter explaining everything. She thought she was safe. She thought that once the report was official, once it was in the system, the criminals could not touch her. She thought that making it public meant it was protected. She was wrong. The man came 3 days later. Sarah was sitting at her desk when she heard the sound of a car in the parking lot. Not a regular car, a big car, an expensive car. She could tell by the sound of the engine. She could tell by the way the door closed. Not a truck, not a regular vehicle, something expensive. She looked out the window. 2 men were walking toward her office. One was older. He was wearing a suit. The suit was dark blue. The suit cost more money than Sarah made in 3 months. His hair was styled. His shoes were polished. He looked like money. He looked like power. He looked like a man who got what he wanted. The other man was younger. He was big. He was muscular. He looked like he did physical work. He looked like he could hurt people if someone asked him to. They did not knock. They just opened the door and came inside. The older man sat down in the chair across from Sarah's desk. He did it like he owned the chair, like he owned the whole office, like he owned Sarah. "My name is Richard Caldwell," he said. His voice was smooth, smooth like oil, smooth like something dangerous that looks pretty. "I represent certain people who own property in this area, and I want to talk to you about a report you filed." Sarah's heart was beating fast, very fast, but she did not let him see it. "What report?" she asked. "The report about a foal," Richard Caldwell said. He smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "A foal you found on public lands. A foal with a particular brand. A foal that you have been making claims about." "That is not a claim," Sarah said. Her voice was steady. "That is a fact. I found the foal. The foal is real. The brand is real. The injuries are real." Richard Caldwell leaned back in his chair. He was still smiling that smile that did not reach his eyes. "The foal may be real," he said, "but your interpretation is wrong. My clients own property near where you found the foal. My clients own animals. Some of those animals are breeding animals. Sometimes breeding operations have problems. Sometimes foals are born weak. Sometimes foals reject their mothers. Sometimes nature takes a sad course and animals die." "That is not what happened," Sarah said. "That foal was branded. That foal was put on that cliff on purpose. Someone did that. Someone in your operation did that." The smile disappeared from Richard Caldwell's face. His face became hard. His face became the face of a man who was not used to being told no. "You are making accusations," he said quietly, "that you cannot prove. You are making claims about private livestock management that are none of your business. You are interfering in matters that do not concern you." He stood up. He walked close to Sarah's desk. He put his hands on it. He leaned forward. His face was very close to hers now. She could smell his cologne. It was expensive cologne. It smelled wrong. It smelled like danger. "I'm going to be very clear," he said. Each word was slow and careful. "My clients want the foal returned. My clients want this matter to end. My clients are willing to pay you $50,000 for your cooperation." $50,000. That is a lot of money. That is a life-changing amount of money. He pulled out a check from his jacket pocket. He put it on the desk. The check was written. It was filled out. It was real. Sarah could see her name on it. $50,000. "You take that money," Richard Caldwell said. "You drop the report. You stop asking questions. You forget about the foal. You forget about everything you think you know. You let my clients have the foal back. And then you live a comfortable, quiet life. Nobody bothers you. Nobody hurts you. Everybody is happy." Sarah looked at the check. She looked at the amount. She thought about what $50,000 could do for her. She could fix her truck. She could repair her house. She could have a comfortable retirement. All she had to do was keep quiet. All she had to do was forget. She picked up the check. Richard Caldwell smiled again. The smile came back to his face. He thought he had won. Sarah tore the check in half. Then she tore it in half again. Then she tore it again. She let the pieces fall onto her desk. They fell like snow. Small pieces of paper that had meant $50,000. No, she said. Her voice was quiet but very strong. I will not take your money. I will not keep quiet. I will not forget. And I will not give you the Foal. The smile disappeared again. Richard Caldwell's face changed. His face became something else. Something angry. Something that wanted to hurt. You are making a mistake, he said. His voice was very quiet now. Very soft. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. You are making a very serious mistake. Smart people do not make this mistake. Smart people take the money and walk away. Smart people understand that some things are not their business. I'm a ranger, Sarah said. Protecting the animals on this land is my business. Stopping cruelty is my business. Stopping people like you is my business. Richard Caldwell stood up straight. He looked down at her. His face was cold. His eyes were cold. His whole body was cold. I'm going to give you some time to think about this, he said. I'm going to come back in 1 week. At that time, you will drop the report. You will return the Foal, and you will accept the money. If you do not do these things, then we will have a different conversation. And that conversation will not be as polite as this one. He turned and walked toward the door. The big man followed him. They got in the expensive car. They drove away. Sarah sat at her desk. She was shaking now. She was shaking because she had said no. She was shaking because she had refused. She was shaking because she understood that she had just made an enemy of someone very powerful. Someone who was used to getting what they wanted. She looked at the pieces of the check on her desk. She swept them into the trash. She stood up. She walked to her office safe. She took out a camera. She took out all the pictures and documents again. She made more copies. She put one set in an envelope. She addressed it to the state police. She put another set in an envelope. She addressed it to a journalist she knew. She put another set in a safe deposit box at the bank. If something happened to her, if she disappeared, if she got hurt, the truth would still come out. The evidence would still exist. The crimes would still be exposed. She had made her choice. There was no going back now. There was only forward, only the fight, only the truth that could not be hidden. The police came 5 days later. They came early in the morning. They came with trucks and helicopters. They came with federal agents from the FBI. They came because Sarah's evidence had reached the right people. The copies she had sent had been looked at. The pictures had been examined. The reports had been believed. The state government had decided to investigate. Sarah was at the vet clinic when it happened. She was checking on the Foal. The Foal was stronger now. Much stronger. The Foal could stand without shaking. The Foal could eat solid food. The Foal was beginning to look like a living thing instead of something close to death. Dr. Martinez was standing with her when the sound of helicopters filled the sky. They both looked up. They could see the helicopters moving toward the mountains, moving toward Blackwood Ranch, moving toward the place where the criminals had hidden their operation. It is happening, Dr. Martinez said. His voice was shaking. It is actually happening. They watched on the news that evening. Every television station was covering it. They showed pictures of the ranch. They showed pictures of horses being rescued. Broken horses, injured horses, horses with the same brand mark on their necks. Dozens of them. Dozens and dozens of horses that had been kept in horrible conditions. Horses that had been forced to breed. Horses that had been hurt so badly that they could barely stand. They showed the arrests. Richard Caldwell was taken out of a building in handcuffs. His smooth suit was dirty now. His expensive shoes were covered in dust. His face was angry and shocked. He could not believe that he had actually been arrested. He could not believe that he had actually lost. Other men were arrested too. Men who ran the breeding operation. Men who had branded the foals. Men who had left animals to die on cliffs. Men who had hurt so many creatures for money and power. But the most unexpected part came 2 days later. Sarah got a phone call. It was from the FBI agent in charge of the case. The agent told Sarah that they had found something. They had found a secret room in the main house on Blackwood Ranch. In that room were records, lists, names. And the names included people Sarah knew. People in the county government. People in the police department. People who had been taking money from the operation. People who had been helping to keep it secret. Sarah's supervisor was one of the names. Her supervisor. The man she had given the first report to. The man she had trusted to forward her information to the right places. He had been paid money to keep the operation secret. He had been paid to bury reports. He had been paid to make sure that no investigation ever happened. That was why nothing happened when Dr. Martinez had reported the operation 2 years earlier. That was why no one had ever investigated. That was why the criminals had felt safe enough to continue their crimes year after year. Sarah felt something strange when she heard this. It was not just anger. It was something bigger. It was the feeling of understanding that the systems she had trusted were broken, that the people in power were not protecting people and animals, that she could not depend on anyone but herself. But she had done it anyway. She had acted alone. She had made the choice to report the truth. And because she had done that, everything had changed. The foal recovered completely over the next 3 months. Sarah started caring for it officially. She brought it to her home. She had a small pasture next to her house. She put the foal there. She watched it every day. She watched it grow stronger. She watched it learn to trust humans again. She named the foal Witness, because that is what the foal was. Witness to cruelty. Witness to crime. Witness to the fact that evil could exist and operate in secret if brave people did not stand up and say, "No, not here, not on my watch." The trial lasted 6 months. Richard Caldwell and the owners of the breeding operation were convicted. They were sent to prison. Many years in prison. The men who ran the operation were convicted. The people in government who had taken bribes were convicted. Sarah was called to testify. She sat in the courtroom and told her story. She showed the pictures. She explained what she had found. She explained what she had done. The lawyers for the criminals tried to make her look like she was wrong. They tried to make her look like she was lying. But the evidence was too strong. The truth was too clear. The crimes were too obvious. When the verdict came back, Caldwell was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The operation owners were sentenced to 15 years. The corrupt officials were sentenced to 7 years. Justice had been served. Real justice. True justice. 6 months after the arrests, Sarah was standing in her pasture. The foal, Witness, was running now. Running in circles. Playing like a normal young horse should play. The wounds had healed. The brand mark was still visible, but it no longer meant what it had meant. It no longer meant rejection. It no longer meant death. It meant survival. It meant proof. It meant that one small animal had survived something designed to kill it. Sarah thought about the morning she heard the cries. She thought about how she could have ignored them. She thought about how many people would have ignored them. She thought about how staying quiet would have been easier. Staying quiet would have been safer. Staying quiet would have meant no threats, no danger, no difficult choices. But she had not stayed quiet. She had heard the cries, and she had acted. She had rescued one small life. And in rescuing that one life, she had exposed a crime. She had brought criminals to justice. She had freed 37 horses from horrible conditions. She had cleaned out corruption in her county government. She had done all of that because she had refused to accept what was broken. Witness came over to her. The foal put its nose in her hand. It was a gesture of trust, a gesture of safety, a gesture that said, "You saved me. You believed me. You were brave when I was powerless." Sarah understood something in that moment. She understood that the worst thing that could happen was not danger or threats or loss of money. The worst thing that could happen was to see something wrong and do nothing. The worst thing was to know about cruelty and stay silent. The worst thing was to accept evil because speaking up was hard. She had refused to accept that. She had chosen differently. The news came the next week. The state government was giving Sarah an award. They were recognizing her for her bravery, for her integrity, for her refusal to accept corruption, for her choice to protect the animals and the land under her care. Sarah stood on a stage in front of cameras. Hundreds of people were watching. Hundreds of people had come to see this ranger who had refused to stay silent, who had refused to accept bribes, who had risked her own safety to do what was right. They asked her how she felt. Sarah looked into the camera. She thought about Witness in her pasture. She thought about the 37 horses that were now safe. She thought about the corrupt officials in prison. She thought about the families who would no longer be hurt by these criminals. "I feel," she said simply, "like I did the right thing. And I feel like everyone should remember that when you see something wrong, you can choose to act. You can choose to tell the truth. You can choose to refuse evil. And when you do that, You can change things. You can change the world. Not perfectly, but genuinely. One brave choice at a time. That night, Sarah went home. Witness was waiting for her. She opened the pasture gate and let the foal run free. She watched as it galloped across the grass. Free, safe, alive, living the life it was supposed to live. And Sarah understood that this was the real victory. Not the convictions, not the award, but this moment. This small, quiet moment where a horse that had been left to die was now free and alive and happy. One brave choice. One morning when she heard cries in the darkness. One decision to act instead of ignore. That was all it took. That was all it ever took. The mountains were quiet that evening. The sun was setting. The sky was red and orange and purple. And in that quiet, in that beauty, Sarah knew that she had found something more valuable than safety or comfort or money. She had found the courage to be exactly who she was supposed to be. The end.